Natalie Jill is a globally recognized midlife health and fat loss expert, business growth strategist, and the creator of the top-rated podcast, Midlife Conversations. She's helped transform the lives of over 250,000 women by challenging the conventional narratives around aging, health, and vitality, and showing what's possible in midlife and beyond. A 2-time best-selling author and 7-figure entrepreneur, Natalie not only guides women to reclaim their health, but also mentors wellness professionals on scaling their businesses through proven strategies like webinars, sales funnels, and digital products. Now in her 50s, Natalie leads by example, showing how mindset, simplicity, and strategic action can create both a thriving body and a thriving brand. She's been featured on The Doctors, in Forbes, and named one of the top health influencers by Greatest, with a social media reach of over 3 million. And now she's right here on Health Coach Radio. Please enjoy. Hi, I'm Erin Power. I'm a health coach, a health coaching educator and mentor, and your host of Health Coach Radio. This podcast delves into the art, science, and business of health coaching. Whether you're aspiring to land a coaching dream job or to embark on your own entrepreneurial adventure, we cover it all. Our mission is to help you grow your career, elevate your income, change the lives of the clients who need your help, and leave a lasting mark in this rapidly growing field. It's time for health coaches to make an impact. It's time for Health Coach Radio. All right, I'm here with Natalie Jill, and I'm starstruck and excited. You're such a force in the online space and for women. And I'd love to start by learning from you, what is your personal, rally cry, your POV? What is the thing that drives you and motivates you to do what you do?
I honestly think everyone's got some, I call it a driving core motivator, the reason that they are passionate about their beliefs and what they do. And I also believe that if we teach what we're learning, it sticks, if this makes sense. So everything I've done in business, in the online space especially, and in the health space, has been because of something I walked through and was navigating myself. So if I think back to years ago, 18 years ago, when I first got into the health space, it was my own setbacks that I was walking through. So that's continued. Being now at the time of this interview, I'm 53. And I'm walking through a lot of the midlife stuff. So I share what I'm learning. That's what I've done. And I'm always passionate about what I'm walking through and learning. And I take from it, why am I walking through this? What am I supposed to learn? And what am I supposed to teach others about this journey?
I love that. So teaching what you're learning. That's interesting. I've actually shared that with my own clients. The idea of them teaching what I'm teaching them to other people in their lives, right? But when did you get started? What era of life were you in when you started?
So I want to say something about what you just said, and then I'm going to answer that question. A lot of people, they think, well, I'm supposed to be the expert. How am I going to teach what I'm learning? And then you said, take what I'm learning and teach it to others. There's a difference between copying and stealing and talking about your own epiphany. So I want to point that out first. Like if I learn something from you, Erin, I don't now take that and make that my own information, right, but I can take my interpretation of it, or now the breakthrough I've had around that. That's how I would go about teaching that. And also crediting people. I credit a lot of people anytime I learn something from them. That's important. Yes. As far as the not feeling like you are the expert, you have more credibility and more trust when you have a personal story behind it. For example, I've been sharing a lot about my back pain journey that I've had for years and years and years, and it started with an injury and just multiple things and ultimately having a disc replacement. I'm actually more credible to teach that than somebody that's never had that experience, right? So when you share vulnerably what you're walking through, not from a victim standpoint, but from this is what I'm navigating, this is what I'm figuring out, that is what does make you the expert. So I wanted to share that first. And then as far as where did I start? It started back, 18 years ago. I just had my daughter and I had hit my own personal rock bottom where I had gained a lot of weight. I was in postpartum depression. I was going through a divorce. It was 2007. I had massive financial problems with the housing market crashing. So I was in my own stuck place, and social media was new at the time. And I remember just sharing on Facebook about what I was walking through and saying, hey, I'm going to start sharing here for my own accountability. And that's honestly how my whole business started. So I originally helped the new mom, the person in their 30s and their early 40s that was figuring it out and didn't know what was going on with their body. That's evolved a lot. I wouldn't say that I'm the expert to go to for you just had a baby. But that's where I started.
That's exactly why I wanted to ask that question, because you are such a veteran in the industry, 18 years, I think that a lot of new coaches starting out, and you probably speak to this as well, new digital entrepreneurs, whatever category we're in, worry that, am I going to pick the right niche? Am I going to pick the right audience? And it's like, well, actually, it's going to change and iterate as you do.
Yeah, I've had a lot of bad coaching advice telling me that I need to stick on one topic, and that's never worked for me. If I'm not currently passionate about it, if it's not currently what I'm obsessing over, if it's not currently what I'm doing myself, I can't teach it. That doesn't make any sense. So I've retired many things that I've done in the past because that's not where my energy is. Now, if I had to go and keep talking about how to get a 6-pack abs after a baby, like, shoot me, that's not my interest right now. That is so not where I am. So I want to talk about menopause. I want to talk about pain. I want to talk about injuries. I want to talk about aging. What happens when we are, we're all of a sudden looking in the mirror and we see our moms looking back at us. Like, what's going on there? What about the hot flashes? Like, that's my interest right now. That's what I'm walking through.
Interesting. So menopause, pain, injuries, and aging. That's an interesting cocktail. But you have experience with all of those things, because you mentioned you have had chronic back pain, disc replacement. So do they all?
It all goes together. So I rebranded my stuff from Natalie Jill Fitness to Midlife Conversations a few years ago, because what I realized is I wanted to have midlife conversations. I wanted to have conversations about all the topics. This doesn't take away my years of being a fat loss expert. I still am a fat loss expert. It also doesn't take away my fitness knowledge. But it's just opening up the conversation to a broader field. So even I think of my signature fat loss program, Total Body Thrive. Could it help everybody? It sure could help everybody. But who's my main focus? It's women in their 40s, 50s, 60s, and beyond that are walking through midlife stuff. So it's no longer, I'm going to help everyone's husband and your 18-year-old daughter and your, the 20-year-old or the mom that's just had a baby or that's pregnant. That could I? Sure. That's not my focus. So I'm focusing on women walking through the same things I'm walking through in this season.
Amazing. So this program, Total Body Thrive, is for women in midlife. You said 40s, 50s, 60s, and beyond. It's interesting. I find the midlife narrative interesting as somebody who's in midlife myself. These women who are beyond, I'm going to get to zero in on them for a second. The women postmenopausal, what kind of results are you having with that?
Incredible. Incredible. Because I'll tell you, and this is not something I would have been able to teach 10 years ago. I'm going to be really honest. I didn't understand 10 years ago. 10 years ago, you would have asked me about how to help with menopause, weight gain, and the mood changes and all the pain. And I would have said, let's focus on your mindset. Let's focus on your nutrition. Let's focus on your workouts. That's what my answer would have been. That is not my answer anymore. That is part of the equation. It's the beginning steps. It's important. It's not everything. There are many women, especially in midlife, we've done that. We know it. We know that we're not dumb. They know calories. They know the macros. They know to work out harder. They know about the mindset. These are advanced women. They know. Now, there's some of them that don't. Great. Some of them that didn't. They come in. They learn that that's going to be their change. I would say most midlife women, that is not the whole picture anymore. So that is important. You got to check the boxes, make sure, am I doing this? Am I truly eating unprocessed? Am I truly eating enough? Am I truly moving my body? Yes, all there. Check, check, check. But now you got to be a detective, and you got to be a health detective, and you got to say, okay, now let's look at my gut. Could my gut be contributing? What's going on there? Let's look, because we've got toxic load that's piling up years and years and years. And if you've been ignoring it because you're youthful and everything's just working, this creates a toxic load. So how is my gut? Then we look at our thyroid. Most, I would say, I would be as bold to say most midlife women, we start having a thyroid decline. Well, we got to look at that and pay attention. What's going on with our thyroid? Did your thyroid that was once working very well, has it now slowed? Are we lacking T3? What's going on with our thyroid? Your thyroid is your master regulator of everything. If your thyroid's not functioning well, we got a problem. So gut, thyroid. Then we got to look at hormones. Now, a lot of women just jump right to hormones. I don't say do that, but I think it's a very important part of the conversation. I was telling my husband, if at age 50, all of a sudden guys had their stuff cut off and all of a sudden there was no testosterone, imagine what would happen. It would be a crisis in the world, right? Mm-hmm. But women, that's essentially what's happening in menopause. You are going from fully working ovaries and everything to you've got zero estrogen, nothing's happening. That's the crisis. So we've got to address that. So we got to look at hormones. So how is that all working? Then there's other components being a detective too. Like, do you need the tweaks? Like we talk about bioidentical hormones, even sometimes maybe peptides. Like what else is to it? So I think we have to open up the conversation. And that's why I say midlife conversation. It's a lot of things, and you've got to be your own health detective. And if we just say we're just going to have to work out harder and eat stricter, we've got a problem.
100%. And I've heard you say that something to the extent of, I'm going to paraphrase it because I thought this was amazing. And I think I shared this and credited you in one of my coaching calls with my clients, which was this belief that it all goes downhill. We need to nip that in the bud. If we proceed with any of this with that belief front and center. But do you think, because the generation of women going through menopause now, we're Gen X, right? So we came through the skinny era, the cardio and Diet Coke.
You can
and rice
pinch an
cakes.
inch. Yeah.
100%. So like part of that doomsday thinking is because we grinded so hard for so long.
Totally
and now
true.
it's like, now it's this overwhelm. Oh my gosh, you mean my thyroid? So say more about that.
Yeah. So great question there and great point. So whatever you believe to be true is true. So I'm going to say that first. If you believe everything's downhill and menopause sucks and we get old and wither up and our metabolism's shot and we're going to lose muscle and life sucks, literally that's what's going to happen for you if you believe that. If you believe that not to be true and you look for evidence that shows you the opposite, then you'll be forced to not fall into that. And I want to just give a few examples. Think of anything, any of your listeners right now, just think of anything in your life that is a negative belief that you have. And maybe you've accepted it, like whatever it is. I want you to think about how you've talked about that and who you've talked about it with and what has supported that or not. If you have something that sucks, like if I say, like I said to my husband this morning, I was playing with my skin and he's like, what are you doing? I'm like, look at my skin. This has changed since the estrogen dropped. Like, look at this. Now, if I said that to him and he's like, yeah, you're right. It looks terrible. And then my friends were like, oh God, it sucks. Like, yeah, aging sucks. And I went to the dermatologist and nothing works. Like if I have that belief, then I'm just going to be in this depression of it. But if I have everyone go, what? No, there's so many options. Like, are you kidding me? We just got to maybe go up on the estrogen, or there's collagen, or no, that looks good, or whatever. It's a different belief. You feel more empowered. Do you want to be right? And do you want me to commiserate with you and validate that something sucks? Or do you want a different perspective? So you can take that on anything. So when women come into my fat loss program, one of the first things I'm going to ask them is, have you decided that you're going to get a different result now? Because if they haven't decided that and they're coming in with the attitude of, nothing works for me, everything sucks, kind of just like prove it to me, that's not someone I can coach. Right. But if they're on board with, I'm figuring this out, I can really help them figure it out.
Ooh, I love that. That's a really great intro question. So if somebody comes in and you say, have you decided that this is going to work for you? And they kind of throw up that defeatist perspective, do you show them the door? Or do you coach them through that?
I honestly, before somebody even purchases my program, that's a big question. Like on my webinars, I do a lot of free stuff before people come into my program, so they understand that the next step's only if you believe, like only if you're ready and you've decided. So one of the worst things that someone should come into anyone's program with was this belief of kind of like, prove it. Just prove it. It's not going to work. Prove it. Because you're shutting the door on that. So you've got to be open-minded. And I would tell that to anybody coaching with anything. Like, you've got to believe in your coach and be willing to step into a role of, I'm a student and I'm going to have an open mind and I'm going to listen. And I do this. I do a webinar called, I have several webinars, but one of them is called Fat Loss as We Age. And I teach 3 very important things on there. And some people love it. Some people are super triggered by it. And that's fine. And I intentionally do that. Because if someone's truly triggered by those 3 things, and they're like, then my program is definitely not for them. We've really saved you some time here. So I think it's important, and I know you have a lot of coaches listening, to understand when you're putting out content, you're not just supposed to be attracting your ideal person, you're also supposed to be repelling the person that's not for you.
That's right. Yes. And all of those methods, the webinar, the piece of content on the Instagram feed is designed to have people self-select in.
Yes.
And I think a lot of coaches worry, what if I say something that puts somebody off? And
good.
It truly is, well, you've dodged that bullet. Yeah, they're not for you. That's okay. Yeah. Hi, it's Erin Power here, co-host of Health Coach Radio. Fitness has always been a part of my life. I used to train clients one-on-one, and I still teach group exercise classes to this day. Fitness is how I got started on my journey to health coaching. Working as a fitness trainer, I always wanted to go deeper than the reps and help my clients incorporate fitness and movement into every aspect of their lives. I instinctively knew that reaching fitness goals depends on pulling the focus from performance and putting it on holistic, sustainable change. And that's exactly what the Primal Fitness Coach certification shows coaches how to do. Your clients deserve to move better, feel better, be pain-free, enjoy exercise, and love their bodies. The Primal Fitness Coach certification teaches you how to train people to be fit for life, to avoid injuries, increase mobility, develop lean muscle mass, protect joints, and optimize metabolic health. This well-rounded functional fitness certification covers best practices for daily movement, strength training and conditioning, HIIT exercises, sprinting, and more. It also includes practical hands-on coaching training and business development lessons to help you launch and grow a profitable fitness coaching business. Visit primalhealthcoach.com to learn more about the Primal Fitness Coach certification. I think this is interesting. It's so interesting how we can have this conversation around the people that you help client-wise, because you also do business coaching for online coaches as well. Talk to me about that a little bit.
So I can do business coaching for all of it, but I kind of zero in on a very specific part of that. And that is the trainings, the teachings, like how do you reach your ideal audience and how do you get that message across in something like a webinar or a live talk on stage? That's the part I like to zero in on. That is my expertise, that messaging piece, because I actually love, a lot of people are triggered by the word sales. They're like, I don't want to feel like I'm selling people. Like, to me, sales is you're offering a solution to people that have a problem. And if you're authentic and real and have integrity, that's a good thing. Because when we don't share our knowledge, that's being selfish, I feel. So we have to get out of that story that you're selling. Like, everything's being sold, of course, at all times. So be an integrity-driven salesperson and actually sell something that you're really flipping good at and you can really help people. I have no question that I'm good at what I do and I can help people. So that's why my content's good. That's why I'm able to put stuff out and attract the right people in, because I feel there's no disconnect in my brain about what I'm sharing and how that I can help people. So the thing that I do when I'm coaching a health coach or someone is I'm going to help them get there. Like, what is your actual messaging and how do you get that out? Whether that's getting it out on social or getting it out in a webinar, getting it out in your emails, like, how do you get that out? So it's very authentic to you. It's super integrity driven. It's definitely something that's going to help the ideal client. And then it's a win-win for everyone, because your offer should be a win for everybody, not just you. It needs to be a win for the client.
Messaging is forever and always my biggest struggle. I mean, it's got to be, hopefully it's everybody's. Hopefully that's not just me. But I think where the new coach comes in is they want to make sure it's going to go viral or, play to the algorithm.
Though. Yeah, it's the wrong thought. I have a coaching client right now that she's very well known, got a big audience, but her social was completely missing the mark. And the reason her social is completely missing the mark is somehow she stopped being her on social. Like, it was like she wasn't just sharing what she's good at. She started sharing what she thought she was supposed to share, like this trend or what someone told her or someone tagged, and that is a big disconnect for a lot of coaches. So one thing I would tell the new person, I don't typically, by the way, work with like the new startup person for a lot of this, because I think they have to figure this part out first. But the new startup person, if you're listening, what the worst thing you can do is compare to others and scroll and consume from others. Do not consume any content from others in your exact industry, because it's going to get you in your head. It really will. What I would rather you do is, if you're on social media, look at other things that have nothing to do with your field, just to get an idea of like what's working, what's drawing you in, what you're paying attention to. And study from real sources, your own content. Like, use actual studies, read books, like do things that are not social media driven for your own knowledge. Then share authentically from you. That makes a huge difference. But when we're constantly comparing all the other health influencers in our same field, of course we're going to get in our heads and not want to post anything.
Yeah. It's so interesting. It's funny that you say that because I heard that advice somewhere else before. Maybe it was from you, quite honestly, where it's, get out of your own industry and start looking at what people are doing in other categories, other verticals. And my first thought was, wait, there's other ones? I didn't know, right? Because your filter bubble.
Yeah.
But actually, I've got a friend who, a small anecdote, she's an e-bike YouTuber.
Okay.
Okay. So she got this e-bike channel on YouTube. I had no idea there was an e-bike section of social media, but there is, right? So this is the thing.
For everything.
It's the thing. But I love that last piece of advice, which is, well, I love all that advice because the idea of like getting off social, coming back home almost to what drives you, pick up that audio book and listen to it and get off socials and get inspired by actual information and ideas. But also I absolutely love the advice to when you're creating content, falling less victim to following the trends. I find that so exhausting.
Well, I'll tell you like a real life thing that happened to me recently. I was in my car and I happened to hear something about, I don't know when this is airing, but it was about the food color ban, about the proposed food color ban in the United States. And I didn't this is when this was happening, I didn't understand what was going on. I'm like, why are people upset about this? And I am so not into politics. Like, this is not something I follow. I'm in food. I have a book called Unprocess Your Diet from years ago. So I made this innocent post. I thought it was innocent, just asking a question on my social media. Like, help me understand, like, why would people be against this? And I wasn't prepared for the amount of polarization that came into my comment feed. It was wild. I literally had no idea this was going to happen. It was nothing clickbaity. I was just asking a question and I could not believe what was happening. And everyone kept tagging this one woman who's got a PhD in nutrition science. And I went and looked at her page and my first initial thought was a trigger. Like, wait, I don't agree with what she's saying here. But I kept digging. I'm like, no, I'm going to lean into this. And as I'm reading, I'm like, I have never seen these things. I hadn't seen these things. And I realized I'm in such an echo chamber. I'm only hearing people that agree with what I've been doing. So I did what most people do not do. I reached out to her and I said, hey, I think there's a lot of stuff that I was not aware of and I would love to have you on my show. And people were surprised I was going to interview her and I didn't care. I was like, I need to understand. And it was one of my favorite interviews of all times. Yes. So I interviewed her. It really opened my eyes to a different perspective. I can't tell you the amount of messages I got thanking me, like people from both sides saying, hey, that really taught me that I should have more of an open mind. So when you are anyone listening, you're on social and you're like, why is this happening? Or what am I, like, lean into it. I mean, there's probably something deeper there to pull out for content.
That's an amazing story. I love that because it reflects this idea of confronting your own biases, which in the wellness industry is virtually never done.
Yeah, we have to.
Yeah, we really stay in our little silos or echo chambers.
And I think it's really important. It's a responsibility of ours that I've really worked on this a lot more, not making generalizations. Like, I do not say what I teach for nutrition is for everybody. I say this all. I say, this is what's working for me. This is what's worked for many of my clients. This is what I teach and believe. This doesn't mean it's for you. It's important because not everything is for everyone. You might love tallow. It's not for everyone. You might love carnivore. You might love vegan. It's not for everyone. It's for you.
I love that you pulled tallow out because I used it on my skin and my skin really didn't respond well to it.
Yeah.
But I think this is really crucial, especially, okay, so we're coming full circle because we have these midlife conversations, women who for decades have been bewildered and overwhelmed by the health narrative since they were teenagers. And what I see as sorely missing in the wellness industry, especially on social media, is critical thinking and asking the rhetorical questions out loud. Yeah. Literally, why would anybody be against the food dye ban? Like, ask the question.
And I had to, and a lot of people would say, well, I would have never asked that. I said, well, I'm glad I did, because had I not, how would I have known that there was a controversy around this? Like, I don't know. And some people were mad at me, like, how could you not know? I'm like, because I don't. I'm human like everybody else. So I'm not, we have to put out, if you're being true integrity, then you don't know everything. Nobody knows everything. So to be a good leader, you have to ask questions. You're not supposed to have every single answer.
Exactly. So I get the sense you're not much of a grocery store ranter. Do you do those grocery store rants? Is that your thing?
You know, it's funny. I don't even, maybe I'm not thinking of what a grocery store rant is like, going in and complaining about what's in the store or what's.
Yeah.
I've thought about actually doing like a haul, like a grocery store haul. But what I've gotten very clear on this year, gosh, really clear, is that what we teach as a wellness expert, or like I call it an age optimizer, is not necessarily the same as what should be for public health. So they're different conversations. So it's also being clear who you're talking to.
That's amazing. So age optimization different than public health.
I think it is, and it's also different than biohacking. So I look at it, it's like a pendulum, and so there's two extremes. You look at the biohackers, which are super extreme niche, like got it. And I love a lot of that stuff. I use red lights and infrared, and I do a lot of the bio, right? That is a extreme, individualized, icing on the cake type of thing. Like you're doing all the other things right, and now you want to try optimizing and doing this, right? That's biohacking. I never loved the word biohacking, so the word I use in my communities is age optimizer, because I'm aging and I want to optimize. So I call it age optimizing. But when you look at public health, that's the world, or just take it even to the country. That is our nation. And that is what's going on to the masses. And there are different conversations. Like me going and telling somebody that's struggling, that's putting together food stamps and trying to feed their family, that they need to be in front of a red light every day and like make sure that they're not eating blah, 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 blah. Like that come on. Those are totally different spectrums. So is there a happy medium? Like, yes, we need clean water. Yes, we should get in some fiber and some protein and some macronutrients. Great. But we got to look at what are we speaking into here, and what's the extreme. And just like the seed oil, like I don't eat seed oils, but come on, this has gotten extremely over the top, this conversation. Like now people are freaking out because there's a trace amount, and like we've gotten ridiculous with it.
It's so funny you say that, because I was thinking about seed oils literally this weekend. I was in my garden listening to an audiobook that danced around the edges of seed oils, not in a dogmatic way. Mm-hmm. And somebody had asked me in my client community, Erin, what do you think about seed oils? And I think my answer was, well, I actually don't think about them ever, really, apart from I'm not eating a lot of foods that have them in it.
Right. We're not eating that heavy processed foods.
Exactly. But your mileage may vary. Like, I don't know. Do you have access to a whole foods diet where you can live a life without seed oils? Maybe you can, maybe you can't. And I just, that is a person first approach, and heavy dogma gets in the way of that. And biohackers are.
Yeah. And then there's, tallow is the other side of the conversation. Let's talk about that for a minute. Because look, I've talked about seed oils 8 years ago in my books, but in a different context, right? Because like you said, they come in highly processed foods. And what I want us to avoid is a lot of the overly processed foods and creating oxidative stress. Mm-hmm. And so that's where that conversation. So yeah, deep frying in canola oil is not a good idea. Not a good idea. However, a trace amount of something in something, I'm not going to raise the flag. But then you take it to the extreme on like the biohacker side, like everything should be tallow. Well, not for everyone. I mean, my gosh, if you've got some genetic markers like lipoprotein B or ApoA, like some people are not going to thrive with tallow. I'll tell you right now, if I eat tallow all day long, I will probably have a heart attack. It's not going to work for me, my DNA. So we're all individual and different, and there's extremes, and then there's the common sense in the middle.
Absolutely. I love that. That's really nice too, because, the narrative right now for women especially, and I think this is for good, is to consume more protein.
Mm-hmm.
So
agree with that. Absolutely.
Don't we? Absolutely. I don't know where you land on this. I'd be curious. A lot of the women I see are doing it via shakes and bars and protein pancakes instead of actually meat and eggs.
So me personally, I'm a fan of unprocessed natural real foods 99% of the time. So I believe what my philosophy is eat real natural foods, primarily that once grew. So they had a mom, maybe they had sun to grow. They grew. Nice. So for me, my take is lean meats. It's fibrous diet, including a lot of fruits and vegetables, low glycemic fruits, vegetables, and healthy fats. My fats of choice personally are olive oil and avocado. That's me. I tell women if you are struggling, I'm not telling the perfect genetically woman breathing through everything that has no issues to give these up. But if women are experiencing pain or autoimmune or having a lot of fat resistance and insulin resistance, then I do tell them to watch dairy and grains, because dairy and grains can be highly inflammatory. So that's about as extreme as I get. Where I get concerned is someone that tells everyone you have to be a vegan, or it tells everyone you have to be carnivore. I see problems with both extremes. That's not where I lie, especially like I love eating meats. In fact, I added red meat in after not having it for 32 years. I love eating meats. I think my body specifically needs it. But what I also know is if I grill my meat, I'm going to create a lot of glycation, and I'm going to create more oxidative stress than I need. So we have to counter that with lots of veggies and antioxidants and greens. So like the carnivore would be too extreme for me. So I think we're always looking for this black and white, and somewhere in the middle, there's this common sense. So for your listeners, especially, decide what you believe and what you know to be true and teach it from that perspective. It doesn't mean the whole world has to switch to your meaning. You talk into what's working for you and why it's helped your clients, and stay in that lane. And just know you don't have to convince the whole world. You're looking for the people that you can help with that.
Yeah. What would you say to the coach? And I know our audience is not just newbie coaches. We have established coaches and very successful ones, so anywhere in between. But what would you say to the coach who feels a lack of confidence in sharing their personal philosophy just on the off chance that somebody might debunk and come in and...
Yes. I would tell you that you got to get really serious about, is that really what you believe and why? Because if you know something to be your truth, like without a doubt your truth, you will not care what other people think. Right. It's true. Now, if you're just a people pleaser and you're not grounded in your belief, you will care. So that's a harsh thing to say, but I'm going to say it because it's very, very true. Like if someone accuses me, and they used to do this before we had video on social media, of photoshopping my abs, that was the big thing. They would like, you photoshopped your abs. I'm like, and I kind of like laugh, like, cause I knew I didn't. Now, if I had, I would have been freaking triggered, right? Cause it's fake, it'd be fake. So when you're triggered by something you're saying that people are coming back, I'm going to question, do you really believe it and why?
Ooh.
Because there's something to that. Because when you know something to be true, no one's going to talk you out of sharing that. Like, I've been sharing lately about my back because I'm having a surgery in July. And I happen to be very, very knowledgeable when it comes to L5-S1 specifically and how I've gotten out of pain for 10 years. Like because I've lived this. And I am not only versed in it, I'm trained in it. This is my truth. And I definitely had some trainers commenting on some of my posts, messaging me that my form's wrong. And I like laugh because it's like, no, you're wrong. You are wrong. Now, if I just made something up because I saw it look good on YouTube and someone called me out, I'd be very triggered and upset. And so I'm going to tell your coaches that say that, I want you to really think back to, is that your truth and why? And do you have the data, the science, all of that to back it? And if you don't, go learn that first. Yeah. That way you're versed and then you're okay. You'll be okay to share it.
Mm-hmm. That's great. That's actually really awesome advice. Earlier you're kind of dancing around the edges of your nutritional philosophy, right? And so this idea of sort of the low insulin producing, low inflammation kind of diet. So it's just interesting because I felt like mildly triggered because I believe in that as well.
Yeah.
But then in my little echo chamber or filter bubble, the things that are served to me on Instagram, you'll see kind of somebody debunking inflammation. And it's like, but wait, I thought that was known, that we all knew that.
Yeah. So the way we get around that, and I just did this, I just actually made a post recently and I started it with, I'm going to share, I'm going to share what I do personally for inflammation and pain, whatever. Now, this might trigger some of you because it's not all of your beliefs. And I want to start with the disclaimer that if what you're eating and doing is working for you, God love you. Keep doing it. You don't have to listen to me. Scroll on past. But if it's not working for you and you're in pain and you've got problems happening right now and you've got weight resistance, I want you to lean in and listen. That's how I phrase that. So I'm not putting stuff out there saying, eat this way and everyone should do it. Because for all I know, Erin, like you could be somebody that you're a complete vegan. I don't know. So and if you were, I don't think you are, but if you were, you might go, well, I don't agree with that. I think anti-inflammatory is this. But I would be saying, I've already said to you, if what's working for you is working, I'm not going to try to change you. Like you keep doing that. I'm talking to the person that is there, but it's not working for them right now.
Exactly. And then when you get folks in your comments descending, because you have a huge following, so I'm sure people come in and share what they feel, good, bad, or indifferent.
Yep.
Do you take the time to whatever extent you can, to engage?
It depends. Sometimes, like there was a girl the other day that she was really adamant about my form being wrong and teaching misinformation for lower back and exercise. And like, I was like, there was not a drop of thought in me that I was wrong. Like literally, I'm like, she doesn't know what she's talking about. Like literally, that's what I thought. But it was a private message. She didn't do this public. And I thought about like what I wanted to respond. And then I thought, so I answered her nicely first. And then she kind of came out even stronger. And then it was kind of nasty. So I wrote back, and I don't necessarily advise you have to, but I said, I think you should share your knowledge. I said, she had like 100 followers. I said, I think you should share your knowledge on your audience to your followers and teach what you know. And then that shut her up. Because it's like, what does she want? She's not going to change me. Right. I mean, I've got my thing. So, I sometimes have fun with the comments and I play with them. I do put some people on blast. Like if you're going to message somebody and put a nasty thing, just know you might get put on blast because sometimes I think it's gives me content. It gives me fuel. Like I want to speak into it more. So I'll do that too. And then sometimes I just block and delete. It's not worth my energy.
100%. I had a post go viral accidentally. It's one of those things where it's like, I'm putting this out for my audience, and then algorithm took it and gave it to people who I never wanted it to see it. And so the amount of vitriol that came in the comments, and I took the time to respond to every single comment.
Wow.
And I think what it did was, first of all, it sharpened the sword for me. I spent the 3 weeks that thing went viral, fortifying my position and also questioning my own biases. It was very, very time consuming. I wouldn't necessarily recommend it. I won't do it again, but I did it. It was a good exercise. And I think visually, optically, it showed people, hey, Erin's not just posting it for the sake of virality. She actually feels this and she's willing to back it up. Totally. So it sounds like you take a really thougtle approach to content creation and messaging. Well, messaging is
I really think through. I mean, I'm certainly not perfect at it. We have to also recognize in the age of AI, people can take your stuff and reword it. Like it's happened to my friends where it's like now there's videos created, stuff they didn't even say on advertisements that they didn't even do. So we got to be aware that there's that. And there's definitely stuff we can't control. I'll tell you, last summer, oh my gosh, we had gone a couple years ago, my husband and I had gone wakeboarding. We had gone boating and wakeboarding in North Carolina. And we were having fun with our friends and we were jumping off the boat. And I had put it on TikTok as like, we're just having fun. It was like, we're jumping. Anyways, years later, this is like last year, this footage got picked up and into like gossip media. And it was me, my face smiling, and my husband doing a backflip off the wakeboard. And it was saying that we were boating and it didn't have my name, it just had my face, that 3 people had died on our wakeboarding because of some dare that we were putting them on. And it went like viral around. It was like all over TikTok. It was my face got picked up by like all these big magazines. And I was getting like hate messages and death threats. And I was so distraught because there was nothing we had done wrong. It was a video on TikTok of us having fun wakeboarding. It was like, it had nothing to do with this made up story of people dying on a wakeboard thing. So stuff like that is very different than like when you are, that I understand, that does traumatize people, and it did traumatize me, I'm not gonna lie. But that's a lot different than you're sharing your nutrition beliefs, and now people, like if they're your real beliefs, like you gotta just let it go. Like it's your belief, and you could do what you did or you can ignore it, but that's a very different thing than stuff getting taken and made up.
True. I mean, that's the dark side of AI, which is so frightening to think about. Oh my gosh. But since we brought the conversation around here, I think that's from a messaging perspective, a lot of coaches it's interesting when the emails I subscribe to from other wellness folks, just to, funnel hack them a little bit, see what they're up to. I can tell when they've used AI to write them.
Yeah.
And I think to myself, at what point do we reach critical mass where everybody, consumer and consumer seller, both were in on it,
I absolutely love AI, but I probably use it a lot different than a lot of people. Like, if you're going to just go say, write me an email series on this, people are going to start seeing through that. That is not how I use AI at all. I will absolutely use AI to form my ideas and to craft them, to make them better. Just to give you an example, let's say, and this is all of your coaches can use this tip, like, you want to make a post about your belief that I don't know, tallow is going to cure the world. you're like, I believe in tallow and it's going to cure the world. And but you're like, I want to attract in, the 35-year-old mom that's a homestead person. You kind of like, you can use something like ChatGPT to have a full conversation first. Be like, okay, this is my product. This is what I want to talk about. This is who I want it to reach. This is what I want to make sure I'm bringing up. What are some things I'm not aware of that could come up that people are gonna create controversy? So I have a conversation like that with ChatGPT. Like I will literally And because of that conversation, I now know what I want to write or how I want to do this. So there's smart ways to use it. Now, if you're just going to go in and say, I would like to sell a generic fat loss program, can you put out content? That is not, people will see right through that. But if you use it to be your friend, your therapist, your coach, and you work with it, there's a lot of great ways we can use AI.
That's actually wonderful advice because, our marketing efforts should be in a manner of speaking letters to the ideal client.
Yeah.
So before, when you load up ChatGPT to get help with the email or the social post, have the conversation and prompt the robot to be the person that you're writing the content to.
Yeah, and I do that. If you use ChatGPT, you can create projects, which I think is amazing. And this is something I show all my clients how to do too, but you create projects. So like I have a whole project for social posts. So I will so it starts knowing my voice. So I will go in there and have a conversation and say, okay, I just recorded a video on these exercises. Help me figure out like, what am I missing here? What's going to come up? What do I need to address? Okay, are there any studies that back this? Can you pull those for me? So it becomes like your assistant, right? Yeah. So it becomes a copywriter / assistant. Then I pull the information. It's still me doing it, and I'm going to still write it and put it out there, but it's really helps me to see my blind spots and all that. And it starts knowing you. So if you use ChatGPT and you use projects, it's like having this full-time assistant that really can help you and learn your brain.
Yeah, I love it. We have to synergize with the robots. What is such a valuable tool. Honestly, I feel I'd be lost without it, but sometimes I challenge myself to, before I ask it to do something, I do it myself just to make sure I still can.
That's great. It's like but I think it's like the ADD, especially if you're an ADHD entrepreneur, like I definitely am. And I have a million questions all day. I can like literally ask it anything I want all day long. And it doesn't get mad at me for asking too many questions. So I don't know. I love it.
Do you ever ask it completely random questions in the middle of the day? Like, what is the point of wasps? Which I asked it last night when I was being attacked by wasps.
It's funny. I ask it all kinds of things, and I'll tell it how to talk to me. Like, don't say that to me again, or I don't like that, or,
I do that too. I train it back. When it writes something for me, I say, well, here's how I would have written that instead, just so you know.
Yep.
Cool. So since we're talking about business tools, take me through again how the work you do helping other entrepreneurs with like webinar and funnel strategy. So webinar is a tool that you use. You really,
it's my favorite tool.
Use. Okay,
yeah. So webinar tool, and some people don't call it, you don't have to call it a webinar. It could be your talk from stage. It could be your masterclass. It could be your workshop that you want to do. It could be something you're facilitating live. But anytime you're teaching in a way that you want to add a lot of value, but also draw in your ideal audience to want to work on a deeper level with you, whatever that's called. I mean, some people call it a webinar, so great. That's if it's online, I guess. But anytime you're teaching to then attract clients, I love coaching that because there's a lot of different phases to that. And it starts with what are you putting out there and what's forward facing. So some people it's their social, some people it's their podcast, some people it's their email, it's their website. It can be a combination of things. But I think there's a big disconnect when people try to make an offer and wonder why they're not getting their ideal person. And then I see their front-facing content doesn't even match or lead into that. So what I help business clients with is that whole piece. Like we got to look at the whole picture. I want to know, and some people, they have all the pieces and we need to figure out how to get it all together. Some people don't have all the pieces. Like some people just need help creating that offer. Some people have the offer, but they don't have the front facing piece. Some people have the middle, but they don't have the other two, so it's, I got to figure out where people are first. And then I help them piece that together. And then the thing I love helping with is once I know, or I've helped someone figure out their offer. So whether you have your offer or I help you figure it out, now we back it out and go, what do we need to teach? What's the problem we need to solve first? Because if we can solve this, they have the next problem which your offer solves. That's what I like doing in a roundabout way. It's pretty specific, but that's what I do.
Oh my gosh, the specific is so important. I'm feeling so just personally attacked because I feel as though I'm missing a lot of that. When you say offer, define that for us.
Anything that you're selling that's going to help your ideal client. So I've got lots of offers. I've got some that are $7. I've got some that are $900. I've got some that are $25,000. They're all offers, right? Anytime there's an offer, we've got to work backwards and go, what's the content you're putting out? What are the emails? How do we work into this? Yeah. How do we work into this? For example, I am sharing all on social media right now. I am so hyper-focused on my back and pain. Like I can maybe put some humor in or some other things. This is what I'm walking through right now. If I have all of a sudden in the middle of me talking about my back pain and my surgery coming up in July, if I all of a sudden said, come to my fat loss class, that would be a massive disconnect. That does not work together, right? So a lot of people need help figuring this out. Like, well, what's the steps? How do I transition? How do I move this? So that's what I like to coach specifically into, because I can help people piece that all together. And I've helped many people do this. And some people need to revise their actual offer or revise their class. There's the piece, but it's very hard when it's your own stuff you get too close to it. I have my own coaches many times because we get too close to it. We get too attached and we're not seeing those missing pieces. I was sharing earlier about, I have a client recently. She's brilliant. Her business does amazing. Her social media was totally missing the mark. And she kept trying to hire people to do her social media. I'm like, that's not going to work. Like you have to get involved and we've got to get this messaging dialed in. We've got to work together for a month and figure this out first. And then you can go hire somebody. But a lot of coaches, entrepreneurs, they think that they've got that all and they need that type of coaching to get it together.
Wow. Sounds like you have a real natural aptitude for this. Do you think you have a natural aptitude or have you honed this over time or both?
I think I'm a salesperson at heart. I mean, my gosh, my background before health was in corporate America. I was a sales director, a sales trainer. Like I love sales. The reason my business worked in health, yes, do I think I have an incredible knowledge of health now? Yeah. But it's because I'm a salesperson and I am a health detective and I learn and I ask a million questions and then I know how to connect the dots back to an audience. So sales is my natural ability. And I believe no matter what people's niches are, that's such an important skill to really hone and dial in and get, because that's what's going to get you to the next level.
Absolutely huge. I'm working on that right now in my business. I see it as a major, well, there's so many bottlenecks. That's a big one.
Yeah.
And I can see the value, just to your exact point. If I get better at selling,
Yep.
I will in some way, automatically become better at messaging.
That's exactly the way that works. It's exactly the way that it works. So like when I teach webinar strategy, one of the first, and you can take this and do what you want with it, but one of the first things I'm going to say is, what's the problem your offer solves? Like, so you think through, what's the problem my offer solves? What's the problem that my ideal client needs to solve first in order to be able to address that problem? That's what you got to teach in your webinar.
Yeah.
Or that's what you're teaching from your talk on stage or whatever it is. You got to teach that part first before we can even make your offer.
That's amazing. That's such an incredible skill, being able to, I struggle with that so much, like breaking the whole protocol down to the one little nub.
Yeah, you need a coach like me.
That's what I do. I'm learning that. I'm learning that. So, okay, the webinar or the talk from stage, how does this, describe the funnel that you like to encourage people to build from that?
Yeah, so there's not one specific funnel. So it depends on everyone's unique. So just like I wouldn't say there's one particular diet. Everyone is so unique. So if I'm working with a client, I got to understand their whole big picture first. Like, are they selling high ticket offers? Like, do they sell a mastermind or high ticket coaching? Or are they trying to sell an ebook? Like there's such a big spectrum. Or do they want, so I first want to work with, what is the coach trying to do? What do they want for their life? Like that's the most important thing. Once I know that, then we've got to go backwards. So there's sometimes a lot of disconnect too. So let's just say, for example, you're selling a $50,000 offer and you're trying to do a free challenge for a month to get people into your very expensive offer. The same person that buys a $50,000 offer is probably not going to do a free challenge for a month first, right? So you got to think through this. Like, what are they going to do? Would they listen to an hour webinar? Would they come to a half-day masterclass? Do they want to hear just a podcast? So you have to think through what's the offer and then think backwards to what's the problem and now what's the content I'm going to put out there that's going to attract that person in. So it's very strategic, and it's important not to skip this, because if we skip it, it's not going to work.
I bet you a lot of coaches start this exercise by saying, well, what do I want to teach? And that's a problem.
Yeah, and you can say that sort of, but the better question is what's the problem I want to solve?
Yeah.
What's the problem I want to solve? And then how am I going to solve it? What's the vehicle? What are my steps to solve it? And what's the problem I need to solve first? And then what's the content I need to put out there to draw people into that?
Yeah. I just think it's so exciting that we get to think like this. I've been in online business for 15 years, and it's so interesting. And I guess this is sort of the rally cry for the maybe newer person coming up, that someday down the line, if this conversation doesn't make sense to you now, you soon will speak this language, as long as you don't quit.
Yes.
So with that in mind, what kind of unquitting advice do you have for the health and wellness professional coming up?
Well, let me back that up for a minute. So the answer I just gave you is going to be somebody that's already like been doing this, right? You know your niche, you know what's going on. If you are new, then niching is actually not as important at the very beginning. Niching is important, just not at the very beginning. At first, like let's just say you're coming in and I don't know, what is your majority of your audience? It's health, right? So it's like fitness, nutrition, wellness. Yeah. Okay. So let's say you're like, I just like health. So start sharing all of it. First, like share your workouts, share your nutrition, share your supplements, just share it all. And you start seeing, where are people gravitating? Where are you having the most fun creating content? What's your audience asking you more about? And I'll give you like kind of a background on when my business started. When my business very first started, I was sharing about my own weight loss journey and me trying to figure out nutrition and recipes. And I was sharing that. It was all food. And I used to actually post what I eat, and people would ask questions. Well, then I started getting really lean and fit, and I made it a goal that I was going to fitness model. This is years ago. And I said, this is how I'm eating, and my goal is this, and I'm doing this. And as my body started changing, people started saying, well, what are you eating? What are you doing? So that's when I made my very first product. My very first product was an ebook called 7-Day Jumpstart, and it was literally how I was eating. So I made that product first based on what my audience was asking. Then as those sales were growing and taking off and that was working, people were saying, well, how do you work out now to look like, now that we know you're eating, how do you work out? That's when I started making, at the time, fitness DVDs. So there is an opposite way where you can kind of build from what your audience is asking for. Once you're established, you kind of know that next step, and now you got to like build backwards to attract more. Yeah. So it really depends where you're starting from on what it is. So when a new person says, I want to create this product, and they work on the whole marketing and the funnel before they have the audience, that's also a problem.
Yeah. Yeah. Audience. So how crucial do you think audience is? And I'm asking this from the perspective of a business coaching program that I was teaching to health coaches, and it was for newbies. And many of them wanted to start with sort of like a 10-day challenge, 12-day challenge. And with no audience, those are hard to sell. So what do you say?
Running ads. Yeah.
Running ads. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you can always play the paid traffic game, of course, but having an audience is the most important thing. And your audience can be an audience of 100. It doesn't have to be tens of thousands, but you do have to have an audience. So it's very important to, if you're just starting out, you've got to focus there. Like, how do I build an audience? And you can do that by being the guest on podcasts, by doing collabs with people. There was a girl, I'll never forget her. I thought she was so brilliant. Years ago, when I first did 7-Day Jumpstart, her name was Rachel Mazur. She now has a huge brand called Clean Food Crush. And her and I both love telling the story. She did my 7-Day Jumpstart. She had several kids. She was the overweight mom. She didn't know about nutrition and food at the time. She did my 7-Day Jumpstart. She was a huge transformation. And I already was developing an audience. And she kept messaging me how great my plan was working and sent me before and after pictures. Obviously, I was going to shout her out and feature her because she's sharing about my program. So I kept featuring her. She got her initial audience. And then she was so smart, she started teaching recipes. And she gave credit to I first got my initial audience from Natalie. So she has her brand's ginormous now. She has millions of followers. So I love opportunists like that. It's not a bad word, but you actually learn from somebody, give them credit, share it. They're probably going to repost you. They're probably going to share. So look at other people's audiences. How can you add value to them? And you're going to get a leg up from sharing that stuff.
Do you know what I'm really liking about this conversation is that it's so human. It's just, you know what I mean? If we remain human, if we build relationships, if we care and think and feel and share and all this human stuff, then we can sort of maybe forget about the algorithm. We can stop worrying about AI to a certain extent. The human-to-human connection still alive and well in the online space.
Yeah.
For somebody like you with a massive following, even somebody who's coming up new, there's no shortage of ability to humanize.
That's right.
But I also think that the health and wellness industry needs it more than ever.
Yeah, it's not gonna go away. People are gonna still want the actual real human connection. And, I get torn too because I'm in masterminds and I'll go to marketing meetings and I'll learn all these crazy ways to use AI, but I use AI very differently. So like, I know I can take one of my YouTube videos and I can put it in an AI machine and it'll break it into 20 reels for me. That's not what I'm gonna put out there though. That's not me. I still like to do my own edits and have my creative eye. So that stuff's still gonna stand out. So, and I got to be careful. Like I see people reach out, they want to do a podcast swap, and I look and I see that they've bought their likes or they bought their downloads. Like people do shady stuff, and that stuff is never going to translate to sales. So when you just chase a vanity metric or I want to look a certain way or it's going to do that, it's not going to actually translate to sales. So I don't pay attention to any of that. I don't care about the algorithm. I don't care about how many likes or like, I don't pay attention to that. I focus on, am I putting out genuine, real content? And am I going to attract my ideal lady that needs my help or the ideal client that needs my help with business? I just talk, I tell the truth, and that's what works.
Yeah. And then also there's a joy in that as well, because you're expressing an authentic expression of self. And I think back to before I left my corporate gig to do this, I remember sitting in that office thinking, I don't care about this.
Yeah.
I don't care about advertising. Why,
That's right.
Why do I come here every day? I actually care about what I'm doing. If I care about what I'm doing now, then I want to have longevity. I want it to be real.
Yeah.
I don't want to hustle and grind and use all the tools to buy followers, whatever is the vanity metrics. I want it to be a real, true expression of self. And it can be, and it should be by the sounds of it. Be.
Yeah, it was funny. I just had my eyes done not too long ago. Like I had like an upper eye blef and I posted the whole thing on social media. Like every day I was sharing about it. And so many people were like, you're so brave. I'm like, I didn't think it was brave at all. I think it's brave to not share. And then people are going to, and just act like you had some cream fix your eyes. Like that's brave because you're going to get called out. Like to me, if you just tell the truth, it's so much easier.
Oh my gosh. That is the soundbite. That is an amazing example of what true bravery is in the online space, is being actually authentic.
Yeah. If you just tell the truth, I mean, it just makes it a lot easier to navigate life. You just say the thing.
Right. And we're doing this because this is meaningful to us. And so we want it to feel an authentic expression of self, true, real, legitimate. Cool advice. So what sort of final, I guess, piece of advice, this is one of these huge loaded questions that people like to wrap up webinars or podcasts with. What piece of advice would you give to a health coach trying to grow their brand today?
I'm going to say there's no one else that's you. Like every single person is their own unique person, and just be more of that. Like you don't try to model and be somebody else. Don't try to be the trend. Don't try to figure out what's the next cutting edge topic. Just be yourself. And that stuff stands out. It always will. And I remind myself of this all the time too, because I get stuck in a creative block and go, what am I going to, and then if I just remind myself to that, that's when it starts coming to me.
Amazing. Wow. Honestly, we barely scratched the surface of all the things we could have talked about, but I'm really grateful, Natalie, for you coming on and helping us understand how you work with clients, whether they're the women that you're working with on their health journeys or the practitioners you're helping on their business journeys. So folks can learn more about the Total Body Thrive at nataliejill.com.
Yeah, you can find everything at nataliejill.com. Yeah.
Amazing. Perfect. Okay. Midlife Conversations is the name of your podcast.
Yes.
Cool. And where do we find you on socials?
Natalie Jill Fit on all the main, on Instagram, on TikTok, on Facebook, on all the places. And then YouTube is the only one that's Natalie Jill Fitness, just because that's been there for years.
Cool. Oh, wow. Great conversation. Again, we scratched the surface, but we got a lot covered, and I really appreciate your willingness to be so authentic and real with us.
Thanks, Erin.
This podcast was brought to you by Primal Health Coach Institute. To learn more about how to become a successful health coach, get in touch with us by visiting primalhealthcoach.com/call. Or if you're already a successful health coach, practitioner, influencer, or thought leader with a thriving business and an interesting story, we'd love to hear from you. Connect with us at hello@primalhealthcoach.com and let us know why we need to interview you for Health Coach Radio. Thanks for listening.